Welcome, one and all in one, and everyone else. It is Thursday, August 12th, and you're tuned in to Nez Says, a place where musicians can get together and inspire each other to play more guitar and everything else there is to do with music. I'm Dave Nesdahl, aka Nez Says. Along with me is my buddy Ty Price and my other buddy, Ben Coombs.
That's
How you
me.
doing, guys?
Doing great. It's great to be back. After a week off, I can't wait to hear what you did last week, Dave, and hear all about that. But yeah, it's great to be back, Ben. Good to be back with you and all of our fine friends in the chat here. We got quite a few folks here already.
Relaxed, refreshed, first show of the month of August. Welcome one, welcome all. We're going to talk about, we missed last Thursday. Why? Dave wanted to act like a 22-year-old again for a night. Sure, I get it.
I want to hear all about it.
I get it. Works for me. I took a nap. I had the night off. I took a nap. But just to get refreshed, to continue that tone journey of looking for the perfect sound, I found tuning does help. And so on that note, let's get into the chat. We've got a bunch of crazy people in here already. It was just zipping by before we started. Then we did the intro and it continued to zip because we've got Thomas Santiago, Papa
Hey, Thomas.
Blue, Fruitcake Tony.
Hey,
Dana
Tony, our
Bergerdi.
show. Tony, Dave went to his show last week. Our show is coming up very soon.
Yes. Dana, New Jersey, Guitar Man 45. Great to see him in here. Ty Price, never heard of him. Gear Junkie 35. Perfect.
Hey,
Some guy
Gear
named
Junkie.
Coon, likely a troll. Charles 75N, one of my favorite cats in the whole YouTuberverse. That's
Hey,
a
Charles.
word. Mark Effects is here. Randy Crooks is grabbing pizza.
Right
Nice.
on.
Hope you got some cold snacks to go along with it. Of course, Kid Shred himself, Joe Hervey 84,
Hey,
Taylor
Joe.
315, Half Ace,
Hey, Taylor.
and the
Yeah.
legend himself, Pooh Ninja.
Of
Throwing some
course.
thumbs up.
Awesome. We're so glad that you guys joined us. Thank you for being here.
So before we get into everything, a little later on in the show, someone is going to be walking in through that door over there, and he'll be joining us. My friend Anthony Steele, who is another amazing guitar player, has been everywhere. Right now, he resides in Florida. He lived here in New York for many, many years. I've known him for 30-plus years. And before that, he was one of the guitar players of the many that have made it very big on LA's Sunset Strip, and we will be hearing stories from the Sunset Strip. So
Looking forward to that.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thunder Falcon, good to see you, man.
Hey,
That
now.
cool handle.
Good to see you.
So, Dave, last week you saw Mammoth WVH.
I did. I saw Mammoth and I saw Guns N' Roses. First
Well,
of all,
tell us
let-
about the show,
let
because
me tell you,
it's early into the tour, so you got to see what that was the third show of
Third
the tour
show.
that you saw. Yeah,
third show, and I will tell you, there were no backing tracks heard on this show, none of them at all, because there were none.
as it should be.
Yes,
Mhm.
It was a real rock and roll show. Wolfgang, listen, we all know how big of a Van Halen fan I am. But if Wolfgang had nothing to do with Van Halen, I would still say that not only was his show amazing, first of all, the record is so good, the music is so good, but the show that he put on, his band put on, was so good, so precise. All the vocals were dead on. The guitar sounds were awesome. The drums, the bass, it was the quintessential opening act. I mean, I can't wait for them to have enough material to be headliners, because not only was every song perfect, but his segues were great. He spoke to the audience. It was all business, and he rocked. He rocked. I don't care how fat he is. I don't care that he's 30 years old. I don't care that his name is Van Halen. His band was so good. Every song right out of the gate, every song, and they played a song that none of us have ever heard because it's on the Japanese import, and it sounded great as well. Everything was great. They played, I believe, 8 songs. They were on for 45 minutes. Normally their set is 10 songs. They played 8 of them because they came out at like 6:30 instead of 6. They were just awesome. I can't say enough good things about Wolfgang and his band.
And they're just
favorite
a
song,
trio, right?
Favorite song they played, Dave? What was your favorite song?
Well, my favorite song is Mr. Ed. I just like the hook in that song. Not to mention he really stretches out a little bit with his solo. He does some tapping, but he does everything on a 335 or a Trini Lopez with the E string tuned down to D. He played 2 guitars through a regular ivory 50-watt head without the concentric knobs, just a regular old-style 50-watt head with a 412.
EVH.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
What did I say? 50
What's up,
watt.
Tim Thomas?
Oh, I just
You
didn't
just
give
said 50-watt head. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought it would be obvious, but yeah, EVH ivory colored head and a 412 cabinet. There were 3 50-watt heads, 5150 heads on that stage. The white one of the guitar players had a Stealth with a 412, and the other one had an EL34, EL34 with a 412.
So all 3 guitar players were playing EVH amps?
Yes, they were. All 3 of them were playing EVH. I will tell you that Wolfgang only used the green channel on his head, if indeed the head that was on the stage is the head that was used. There was a microphone on the cabinet, so I have to believe that that's the amp that was being used. And he used a pedal on his pedal board for all distortions, because that light never changed on that amplifier.
Hey, Charles Green.
Very
I
interesting.
didn't
Hey,
realize
Charles.
there's 3 guitar players in that band.
Yeah, 3 guitar players, and they all played lead at one point or another.
He did tweet a Wolfgang did tweet a picture of the pedal board that he's using on this tour, and there it is.
And
Small and to the point.
Do we dare say that it is not the 2012 pedal board?
Right.
But it is very cool.
So what is that pedal in the lower left?
It is a Earthquaker Devices.
Okay.
Reverb.
Oh, you mean the little pedal on the very left to the left of the wah?
No, not the. That's a Snark tuner.
Okay, yes, the one. It's an Earthquaker. What the hell is it called?
Yeah, the 6 knobber there.
It's a reverb.
Oh, is that a reverb?
It's a Earthquaker reverb pedal.
Okay.
I think it's called an aftermath. Is that what it's called, Dave?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
But again, I don't know what overdrive he's using. But
Well, that's what I was looking for. You know, as soon as you mentioned that, Dave.
It's certainly not the amp, unless all the lights on his amp are green. But it stayed green all night.
Gear Junkie's got it.
Afterneath.
Afterneath.
He's going to sell a lot of those just by posting that picture on
What's up, Kurt?
Twitter.
Yeah, he certainly is. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions about the Wolfgang set, please ask. Let's get to the point. The Guns N' Roses set was off the charts. They came loaded for bear. They played for close to 3 hours, if not 3 hours on the dot.
Wow.
That's a hot band, right, Dave?
Yeah. Slash was playing over his head. He is amazing to begin with. Think of Amazing Plus. He played amazing. Almost every song was a guitar change. Well,
he's a beast.
Yeah, I'd say almost every song was a guitar change. There was a couple of songs he used the original 87 Les Paul that you see in the Welcome to the Jungle video. A couple of, I think 4 or 5 songs he used the a replica of the Appetite guitar. He used this awesome Firebird with humbuckers in it, a black Firebird.
Mm-hmm.
Saw that.
He used
Yeah,
the
I've seen
black.
him do that.
He used the black Les Paul Custom,
Which is
Black-
new. That's new, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen GNR a lot. I don't know that I've seen him with a black Les Paul Custom.
No, you're right, Ty.
With GNR. I mean, I do think I remember a custom showing up occasionally in the Velvet Revolver sets. It seems like I do.
Maybe. I don't know. I just remember he was using a lot of faded bursts during Velvet Revolver.
I think that's really where we got a heavy dose of tobacco burst.
Yeah.
Les Pauls during that era.
He used the tobacco burst Les Paul for a couple shows at MetLife. He used, from what Ty tells me, is an original gold top that is in immaculate condition. He used that for quite a few songs too. It sounded incredible. He used that for November Rain. Oh my God. It was just ridiculous, the sound of that guitar. He used the black double neck Gibson. He used
Jessica. He played Jessica, the 87 standard.
Yep. He played the double neck Guild with the acoustic on the top and the 6-string electric on the bottom, which failed in the middle of the song.
What?
Knocking on Heaven's Door. Yeah, it failed. He had to bring a Les Paul out in the middle of it.
Well, he's got a few of those in the boat. Kurt 5150. Did he play a BC Rich?
He did. He played two of them. He played the Green Bitch and a red Mockingbird with a Floyd on it.
God, I love that Mockingbird. So does Gear Junkie. Yeah, I love that guitar. Was that his You Could Be Mine guitar?
Yes, he played that for two songs. You Could Be Mine, and I can't remember the other one.
And what kind of guitars was Mr. Fortis sporting?
He was playing a bunch of Gretsch White Falcons in different colors, a black one, a couple of white ones, and a red relic one.
Oh, nice.
And he also played a bunch of custom guitars from a builder here in Brooklyn, New York, that actually brought one or two of them to the show. It was a white one with a reverse headstock, with a humbucker in the bridge and a P90 in the neck, and another Les Paul looking one. And he used them that night.
Nice.
But yeah, the only complaint, if there's any at all, is that Richard Fortis was half the volume of Slash, even during his guitar solos.
Fortis is a monster player.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably why it's Slash's show.
Yeah.
That's probably why he wasn't, in the forefront.
Slash doesn't strike me as a territorial guy, honestly. I mean, I think that he is a red-blooded, hardcore rock and roller, and he is up there for the pure love, joy. I mean, he loves to pay check, I'm sure. But I mean, he loves to. I mean, the man loves to play guitar, and when you see him play in person, it's so much different than seeing him. Or listening to him on a record or seeing him on a video. Seeing him live, you really get a sense of how much the man loves to play, and he's so good at it. Yeah, I mean, he's phenomenal at it.
He really is. Richard Fortis did a bunch of acrobatics on the guitar. During his guitar solo, he played these runs on a Gretsch hollow body that most people can't play on any solid body. Just ridiculous. His playing was also over the top. You could hear him, but he was just like in the mix. Slash, the mix is here, Slash is up here during his solos and some of his rhythms. And Fortis's was right here no matter what, which is fine. You could still hear him. And he got a good amount of solos. He was not just the rhythm guitar player. It was very impressive, and the stuff that he played, really good. Really good.
How was Axl?
Let's talk about Axl. Now, a lot of people seem to say that Axl doesn't have it. I call bullshit. This is why I call bullshit. Axl's in his mid-60s. Number one. Number two, nobody.
Is he that old? Wait a minute. Is Axel that old?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Is he?
As far as the internet's concerned, he is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I checked that night because I wanted to know how old he is. He's running around like a chicken without his head on with a pair of cowboy boots the whole night. Everyone else is wearing sneakers. He's wearing cowboy boots and running around, singing his ass off. He's got a back brace on, and he's not thin.
That's good, but he has lost weight. He looked like he's lost 20 pounds or so.
Yes, he's lost some weight, and he's looking pretty good, but he's wearing a back brace, and he is running around like he's a 20-year-old. And he's singing pretty damn good. You know, most people, I don't care, most people in their 40s start losing their voice, and he still has his thing. He still
Whereas
has
he had lost it when they were originally, like during the Appetite tour. That was the thing, was like by the third or fourth song, it would go and get progressively worse. And I thought about that. He sounds better now than he did 30 years ago, in my opinion.
Right.
Axel's 59, according to R-Habs. He's 59.
Is he? Okay.
62,
all right.
yeah. February 6th, 62. Okay.
Dan
Reporter
confirms.
Habs and Dan of New Jersey coming in with that, and Kurt 5150 doing the
Hey,
confirmation.
but here's the thing, and flame away. I'm gonna say it. Flame away. Axl Rose is an icon. Period. He is one of the most electrifying frontmen in the history of rock and roll. And you hear one note the man sings, and you know it's immediately him. Very unique, very identifiable. I love the way he sings. I love his music. Yeah, dig it. Tony, Axl looks aged a little on this tour so far.
I think he looks older because he's lost the weight.
Tony, I hope there's no shutdowns. I hope we get to see our show in a month.
That's a bold statement, Taylor. I don't know if Axl's the best frontman ever, but he's up there.
Taylor, I can easily make an argument that you are correct.
Even though I'm not the biggest fan, I still say best frontman is Freddie Mercury.
I can easily make an argument that you are correct.
Yeah,
he always had
think
those
about
crowds
it.
in the palm of his hand, like no
But
other.
Ben, how many people can we make an intelligent argument that they are the best frontman? Right? I mean, you got DR, you got Axl, you got Freddie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mick Jagger. Yeah.
Mick Jagger.
I would even say Sebastian Bach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sebastian Bach is no joke.
Oh yeah.
Now, I'm not a big Skid Row fan, but watching him, I mean, he took lessons from DLR. That's his shtick. He's like the if DLR had a kid, it would be Sebastian Bach. But still, what he does as a frontman is ridiculous. It's so good.
Well, there's a lot of vocal territory to cover with Sebastian for sure. I mean, phenomenal singer.
And he's an Amazon. He's a big boy.
I'm just thinking, iconic stat. I mean, will Axl be the last of the greatest frontmen? I mean, will he be? I mean, who has come after him?
The last of the great
who's
band.
come after him?
Yeah, like.
Well, I don't think anyone has come after him, but I mean, how about Steven Tyler? Still rocking.
God. Okay, we're still kind of like in that conversation of five, right? Because Tyler would be the fifth. I can't believe I left that off. Oh my God, what am I doing? Look, Bon Scott, Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson he may not run around the stage that much, but what a great frontman he is. But let's
BV, good to see you. I love this insight that BB has. He says Richard has treble bleeds fitted into his signature Falcons, and they're fitted with audio taper pots so that they can clean up.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Fortis is just. I love everything about it. I love the visual presentation, but the audio. I mean, the man just can play. He sounds good. He's got great tone. And
He lives in the house he grew up in.
I learned that recently. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I think it was right around the start of the pandemic. He moved back to Missouri and bought his parents' old home. I don't even know if he actually bought it from them. Like, there might have been an owner in between even, but he ended up getting the house.
Hello, Dwight Bailey.
Hey, Dwight. Dwight's got a new video out. I loved it. I saw it this morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
And they only had one additional member. Like with Guns N' Roses, they just had an additional keyboard player, and that was it, Dave?
They have two keyboard players on the tour, a male and a female. Both sound incredible. Both get
Dizzy Reed and Michelle Reese.
Yeah, thank you, Ty.
Dizzy's been there, guys. Dizzy's been there since the Illusions.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Dizzy is the second longest standing member.
I think you're right.
No, because he did leave and then came back. Richard is the second. Ironically, Richard Fortas is the second longest standing member.
So Axl, during November Rain, which is, I guess, very near the closing of the set, they bring a full grand piano out to the stage for him to play.
As they should, because they're rock stars.
It's ridiculous, and he does a tribute to Biz Markie in the very beginning of that song, which was, I thought, very cool. You know, he kind of makes fun of "Oh Baby You Got What I Need" a little bit, because he does it the way Biz Markie would have done it, really off key.
Right.
But it was really just a tribute. He meant it as a tribute. He didn't mean to fool around with it.
That's very cool.
Very cool. And like I said, he didn't stop. He was on that stage. Even during the guitar solos, he was on the stage. He wasn't backstage. He did 4 or 5 T-shirt changes. He looked great, even through the encores. He's
a rock star, man. He's a rock star.
And I can't tell you how fast Paradise City was. It was so fast, and everyone was dead on.
And how good is that outro solo?
Oh, crazy! It's so good. There was not. I don't think Slash flubbed at all. I mean, and you're looking at, I'm sure there were thousands of guitar players in that arena or in that stadium, and I'm sitting there looking at Slash to see when he's going to screw up, and not once. He was a freaking rock star. He played so well. The only thing is he didn't smile at all.
Well, maybe he didn't. You just couldn't see it.
No, you could see. I was close enough where you could see every tooth.
You could see under the hair.
Yeah, he didn't smile, but he was concentrating. So he had to have just been concentrating because, man,
did he wear the hat all night?
Yes, it never came off, and the glasses never came off.
Mm-hmm.
Just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yes,
Dave, I'm glad you had fun, man. How was the mix? The overall mix.
The mix was great. I mean, Slash was louder than everyone. The drums sounded big. Duff McKagan's bass sounded amazing.
He's a great player too, man. I mean, that whole band. I mean, look, the band is just. I mean, it's funny, my son and I were talking about this earlier today. Because the Stones, Tony, I don't know if you saw this, but the Stones have added a Charlotte date to their calendar. It's actually the day after the GNR show in Raleigh. So they've added that.
Well, you might as well just catch them on the way back through, driving back.
Charlotte. That's what I'm saying. So my son and I were talking, and we were talking about the Stones, and we were talking about GNR. GNR is really my generation's Rolling Stones.
Well, and when Free Cake Tony mentioned it, he says GNR's cleaned up financially since 2016. Yeah, they went the Stones route in the fact, like, if we're going to come back, we're going to do it right, and we're going to do it big.
Longevity. And I don't think those guys. I think they were all straight. I think they were all dead sober.
I think they all are these days.
Taylor 315 Slash did not play Les Pauls exclusively. He played a couple of BC Riches. He played
Guild.
a Guild double neck and a Gibson double neck as well. Other than that, he played Les Pauls and a bunch of and a Firebird as well.
Nice. Hey, Janice.
Hey, Janice.
Hi, Janice. Yeah, let's talk about the Rolling Stones for just a second. Charlie Watts not doing this tour because
Of a health procedure.
yes, a health problem.
Undisclosed.
Steve Jordan
Mm-hmm.
filling in for him.
I've seen him live before.
That should be a good fit.
Well, he's a
Absolutely.
monster.
Played with Keith for years,
Absolutely.
didn't he?
Yep.
Yes, he did. He played with Keith. He's played with everyone. Clapton. He's played with
Mayer.
Jeff Beck. He's played with John Mayer. He's
Yep.
played with everybody. And what an amazing choice, because he
Yes.
will do Charlie Watts like Charlie Watts.
Well,
Oh,
he's such a Stones fan. He will bring a great deal of respect and dignity to that gig. And he's a world-class player. Just one of the best drummers playing. And we wish Charlie well, though.
Heck yes.
But now I think somebody can fact check this, but isn't Charlie Watt like 80 years old?
Yes,
He's got to be close to it.
he's 80. I believe.
I did have a question regarding GNR, Dave. Did they play their new single, Absurd?
Yes,
Mhm.
and it's terrible. I'm sorry. All I understood was MF and the word absurd, and the music was jumbled. It just didn't sound like a good song to me.
It's actually a reworked song from the Chinese Democracy Sessions that was originally titled Silkworms. And if you want to hear the original, I think it's on YouTube. You can listen to the original. It's called Silkworms, and then go and listen to how that's been reimagined into Absurd.
There we are.
But the guitar playing on Absurd is insane.
Yeah, it has to be, because it's very tough. The song is, it's a lot of stuff in it. There's a lot of stuff in it.
And I love the sound of Slash's recorded guitar these days. I love the sound with Apocalyptic Love. When he recorded that solo record, that tone, absolutely amazing guitar tone. And it's I love his recorded guitar tone. I love the recorded tone on Absurd as well.
Do you like the song, Ty?
I'm indifferent to the song. It doesn't have the hook that I tend to like, a melodic repetition that I tend to like in songs. But yes, I like the song from the standpoint of I've got some new solos to learn.
Okay.
That'll be fun.
All right. I respect that. I think it's because one of the reasons is the same as like when you're a Van Halen fan and there are lots of songs, maybe not lots, but there are a few songs that are not their best songs, but you love them because it's Van Halen. How could you not? Like with you, GNR, let's face it, GNR is probably in your top 2 or 3 bands that you love.
Yes.
So you're going to love everything they do. It just is what it is.
I like most everything they do in varying degrees. Everything can't be Night Train. Everything can't be My Michelle. Everything can't be. Everything can't be Civil War. There's varying degrees, right?
Right. Well, I got to tell you, I never, and I'm going to catch hell for this, but I never liked Welcome to the Jungle. Never liked that song until I saw them live doing it last week. They did what they did to that song, and it wasn't even much, but just seeing them perform that live, so believable that I love that song.
There's a lot to unpack there as a guitar player. I mean, there's a lot of cool bits in that solo that can teach guitar players, an awful lot. I mean, the way he outlines an E9 chord with that little double stop kind of slide bit in the first solo section, and then the second solo section is chock full of groovy little bluesy bits that you can take away and put into your own improv. I think the jungle. I think that there's a lot of there's a lot that can be learned from that song, and it's not a hard song to learn. Hard being, I mean, on the scale of difficulty, not a hard song. There's really cool rhythm parts of it that make it cool. It can also teach you a lot about technique too, right? And look, a lot of rock guitar is all about technique. Like we all love Van Halen. One of the coolest things that Van Halen taught us is how to mute strings when he's when he's playing open strings, how to mute them, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of technique. I mean, in the way that Slash chugs with a heavy pick against heavy strings with the guitar strung down low, there's a lot of technique to be learned on this part of the hand. There's a lot of cool stuff that if you want to learn some old school rock guitar, I mean, they're a good place to start, and Jungle is a really good place to start.
Right, absolutely. I mean, yes, I was an avid Guns N' Roses fan before seeing them, but watching them live really did it for me. I mean, it brought them from here way up here. I respect that band. I think I thought they were an amazing band just listening to their records. But once I saw what they could do live, my respect level for that band went up at least 50-fold.
Well, I can't wait to see it. I'm going to see it at the end of September, and fingers crossed that we're not in a health crisis and that show can proceed.
Yeah. I think
Tony wants to know if McBob is still doing the intro. I don't know. I would assume he is.
I don't know who that is. I know someone did their intro, but I don't know. I wouldn't know who it is.
I sure hope so. I don't know which tech is out with Slash on this tour either. I don't know if it's Adam Day or I don't know who's out with him.
Is Adam Day the guy that did their his premier guitar rig rundown?
I think he's done one of them or two of them. Blonde-headed guy, tall guy.
Yeah, if it is, then it's not him, because it was another guy, dark short hair, that did the sound checks. When you're checking the guitars, and then would hand him guitars. It's a different guy.
Maybe Ace. Cool. Well, I'm glad you had fun, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks again, Ty.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was really. I appreciate the thought.
Bozique.
Hey, Bozique, how are you?
Yeah. So who else in the chat's going to see GNR on this tour? Anybody else? I know Tony is and Charles is. Cool. I'm glad you had fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was great. Great seats. The hot dogs were really expensive. Because we hadn't eaten all day and we ate there, and boy, is that a mistake.
Hey, at least you don't drink, so you're not paying $20 for a beer.
I don't drink, but 3 hot dogs, and I didn't eat all 3 of them. 3 hot dogs, 2 fries, and 2 drinks were $55.
I believe it.
Gear Junkie 35, thanks for hanging as long as you could, buddy. We'll see you next week.
See you, buddy. was gonna say last time. Let me think. During the Tom Petty concert, I slipped out to the concession. A beer and a slice of pizza was $20, and the slice was only $5.
That's crazy.
Boy, I miss Tom Petty.
Don't we all?
Mm-hmm. Miss Tom Petty. A lot of good shows.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good shows.
A lot of
Saw
great
Tom
guitar changes.
every time he came around, I saw him.
Him and Mike Campbell, every song, the two of them, every song. It was like they cleaned out Norm's rare guitars for their tour, because that's what it looked like. It's just one vintage piece of awesomeness after another.
Mm-hmm. No question. So, Dave, tell us about your friend Anthony that's going to be coming on. How did you guys meet?
Well, we met through Larry Mitchell about 1992, I suppose, around there. And Larry brings him over to my house, which I was living with my mom back then, which is right across the street. Give me 1 second. He's just messaging me saying, "Here and can't find the house. Ask Desiree to walk out. We're in a beige Mercedes."
BV, we'll have to ask Dave. I wasn't at the New Jersey show. We'll have to ask
Give me
Dave
1
if
second, guys.
Richard,
Yeah,
I'll be right
used those guitars, because I really love the boutique stuff that he uses.
I'm wondering if those are the ones that Dave was talking about, the builder out of Brooklyn, BV.
Well, I think Scala guitars are built in California, aren't they? And then Paletti are built in Italy, I thought. BV can correct me if I'm wrong. But the Scala guitars are pretty amazing. Have you ever played one of those, Ben? They are pretty amazing guitars.
I'm smart enough, Ty, that by the time I roll across the boutique builders at 2 p.m. at NAMM, I've had enough cold snacks in me to go, you know what? I'm not picking up that guitar, because if I drop that guitar, I'm not allowed to go home. They won't let me leave the country. So there you go. So BV says you're right.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we have a dealer not too terribly far from me, maybe 3-4 hours, that has become a Paletti dealer, and I've not played one yet, but they look super interesting, and I love the headstock shape.
So my friend Anthony is here. I guess he's just having a little trouble finding a house. So if you just give me a minute where he comes in, I'll tell you guys a story. We can both kind of tell the story.
Nice.
Okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Tony, you saw my
That'd be great.
Ty, do you want to talk about that pedal that McKnight showed today? That slash sounding pedal?
I want to talk about it when I get it and demo it.
Okay, how about we'll save it for that?
Yeah. I'll talk about this, though. Let's talk about this. So,
please do. Please do.
This came in the mail today. See this? This TC Flashback ×4, right? Let me tell you how I came in possession of this. This is not a new pedal, it's a used pedal. And I was talking to a friend about how my trusty, reliable favorite delay pedal of all time had finally had enough and gave up the ghost and met its end. It was a well-used, well-loved, fantastic sounding Eventide Time Factor that who knows how many times I stepped on it. And I was mentioning this to a friend and how it died, and I wasn't sure what in the world I was going to do to replace it, and the way in which I used the delay pedal, that he boxed this up and sent this to me in the post, and this was Mr. Nesdahl that sent this to me, just to fill the gap until I find exactly what I want to go on my board. Perhaps it's this. When I was telling Dave about how I used that Eventide and what I wanted out of it, and he said, I think I got something that you should try. This might be a perfect substitute. So I'm going to try that out this weekend. Put it on a board and try it out.
Enjoy it.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, not a problem.
Delay is an interesting thing for me because, you know, some of my favorite delay tones are pretty simple, and they run in front of a distorted amp, i.e. the Van Halen thing with the Echoplex. I love that. Love that. But the gigs, a lot of the gigs that I do, I also like to have a pedal that runs side by side with some other effects. I like modulation and reverb, and I run it through a loop. And that's the way in which I was using that Eventide. And Dave sent that TC for me to try. Believe it or not, I've never owned a TC delay pedal. I've owned a G major and I've owned a G major too, but I've never owned a TC delay pedal. So I'm looking forward to digging into that. And it's got this mode on here, the legendary 2290.
Yes, the chip, the 2290 chip, and that is amazing.
So I'm looking forward to digging into that. Got a question real quick. Let me see. Have any of you tried the Blue Guitar tube amp simulator? And if so, what are your thoughts? I have tried it. I have not tried the new version of it. That is an amazing sounding guitar amp, and it's super travel friendly. You can, if we're talking about the same thing, Taylor, you can mount it to your pedal board. You can have it all there at your feet. It's perfect. It is a gigging musician's dream, and they sound great. But I know that there's a new version out that's black. I don't know if they're calling it version 2, version 3, or whatever. Right. I've not tried that one. I've tried the gray one a couple of years ago, and it was very impressive.
Oh, we had to do a name change. Look at that. He's back. I want to say hello and welcome to David Scher. Charles75N says new pedal days are always nice. I got a pretty cool drive pedal recently. You might say it's a nice drive, eh? That's right. Thanks again, Charles, because he bought one of my last signature pedals that was out.
Very cool.
Very cool. Hey, David.
Yes. Hi, Dave. Everyone in the chat, this is my buddy Anthony.
Hello, Anthony.
We're gonna talk about his journey in music and some stories about Sunset Strip back in the early 80s, or early to mid 80s.
He wants to know the dirt.
The real dirt.
Yes.
What? Introduce us all to your friend, Dave.
Well, I met Anthony somewhere in 1992 from our friend Larry Mitchell. And Anthony had just come fresh off the plane from California and didn't have a guitar with him. And Larry brought him over to my mom's house, which is across the street, and asked if I had a guitar that he could borrow. And just being friends with Larry, I had never seen him before. I said, sure, here, hold on to this until you get a guitar. Didn't know him.
What did you, Anthony, do you remember what Dave handed you?
An Ibanez Roadstar.
No, Joe
Okay. Was it Satriani?
Yes,
I thought it was a Roadstar.
No.
You know, I couldn't believe it.
Very early, like a JS1.
Sweet.
Very early Joe Satriani Prestige. It was, I had a bunch of them at the time. And so I can't play everything. So I handed it to Anthony and sent him on his way. And when he got a guitar he really wanted to play, I got it back. Just like that. And we've been friends ever since.
So, Anthony, are you from California originally, or?
No, I'm originally from New York. Actually, Brooklyn, and moved to Long Island when I was about 13.
Okay. And tell us about how you got started in this journey of guitar and how you found your way to Hollywood.
Well, when I was a kid, my uncle got me a guitar. I was 9 years old. he was an actor and traveled the world. He was in Spain. I forgot what movie they were doing. And he actually just grabbed an acoustic and brought it back for me. So I picked it up. I started playing and I knew I was home. It was just that simple. I got my first electric was a K. It's a $99 from, was it Sears?
Yeah, Sears and Roebuck.
Sears and Roebuck. That's where the journey began. Then as I got a little older, I started going to concerts. My first concert was Led Zeppelin at the Fillmore.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Where do you go from there, Anthony? That's your first concert. I mean, holy smoke.
It was like, I remember just sitting there like, he was the epitome of cool. Long hair. He came down, it slung way down, and he just looked like he was having such a good time. And I remember I got the album. I don't know if you guys remember. You remember the Things from England? They used to play on WNEW on Friday. He's shaking his head.
Sure.
He goes, yeah. Scott Muni debuted the album the day before. He said, Jimmy Page from the Yardbirds. He says, this is definitely going to be something good. And he played it. Bam, bam. Good times, bad times. I said, that was it. I was hooked. Actually, even a little before that summer, I had been in California. My mother and my grandmother lived in California. So I went out to California. My cousin and them were playing guitar. And I remember he had bought Are You Experienced?
Mm.
And listening to that, I just went, oh, my God, what's going on here? And Early Cream, Clapton. These are all the things that I kind of listened to that just went, oh, I was blown away. I mean, music back then was a whole different animal.
Things I still listen to.
I do too. Yeah, last night, Doreen and I were watching a Life in 12 Bars, I believe it's called. Eric Clapton documentary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's phenomenal. Phenomenal movie.
Yeah, what he went through, his sobriety and
incredible story.
Yeah.
My daughter is 15, and she's gotten really turned on by this John Mayer record, Sabra. And we're at the beach and we're listening to this record, and I said, would you like to hear where a lot of this influence came from? And I put the Journeyman record on, and we're playing this, and she lives with a musician, so she hears this stuff constantly. And she immediately, she got it. She was like, oh, I can hear this. And I was like, oh, well, let me play you this. And, we went and I pulled Layla, and then we went to John Mayhall, and before you know it, we're playing, Bell Bottom Blues, and we're playing, my wife just let me know I shouldn't say my 15-year-old daughter got turned on by John Mayer. So, but we're listening to
the only one, Ty.
We're listening to Bell Bottom. We're musicians. We know what we're saying. But before you know it, we're listening to this Clapton, and then I'm sharing the story, and then before you know it, she's got her nose in the computer watching the documentary. So nice. It's all good. I feel like I've done my parental duty this week.
That's right. You did your due diligence.
It's funny when I watch those kind of flicks, I always look at the gear. I look at the Marshall. That's a small box. That's a 68 Plexi. That's a JTM 45. And I see the cabinets with a 100-watt logo in the corner. It's funny because my buddy that I work with Glenn Baker, who is a country artist down in Florida. If you get a chance, go to Glenn Baker on YouTube. GLENN. There's 3 tunes that we've got up there that we're out. We're actually going to hopefully be hitting the road maybe October. And Scott and I are like guitar nuts ever since we met. We've only known each other a couple of years, but it's like, hey, you remember that? Hey, you remember that? Hey, yeah, my friend's got this. And his friend just came across a 66 JTM 45 original.
Wow.
A week later, he found the cabinet, not to match that, but the same era for that cabinet. But I mean, you're talking a head that when I was a kid, you could get for $200, which is now $15,000 to $20,000 if you can find them.
Yeah.
Incredible.
There's a guy in Florida named Mark Kane, which I took my head to. I had a blues breaker. It's basically a JTM 45 with a circuit board. So I pulled it out, put it in a box. I took it to him. I said, rip it out. I gave him an idea of a guitar sound that I was looking for. It's from the old Jethro Tull first album. This was Cat Squirrel.
Yeah, sure.
Martin Barr's guitar, not Martin Barr, Mick Abrams guitar sound. I said, that's what I want the amp to sound like. So he worked on it. He went through it, put new transformers, caps, everything, primary, the whole thing. And we're almost there. You know, it's just if you don't have people that are familiar with that type of stuff, they can't duplicate it because everything today is completely different. It's completely different. You know, you have that super saturated overdrive, and don't get me wrong, I love that stuff at times. It's good. But for what I like and the type of gigs I do, you know, I need kind of something, an amp that's versatile that I could drive the way I want to drive it for the particular tone that I need for what I'm doing. You know, it's like you were talking about drive pedals before. You know, I take a full tone 69, the original big box.
Yeah.
I just think they're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. And it gives you that old Cream, Clapton, that kind of smooth, like tube-driven overdrive.
My friend Len Camp is here just to see you.
Is that Lenny?
That's Lenny.
Lenny Campanelli?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
He owns your old Strat, the rosewood board three-tone sunburst.
Yeah.
The relic, the old relic that you had.
Yeah, the 60.
Yeah, he owns it.
He sold me a Strat when he worked on 48th Street. I remember I was like $100 shy of buying a Sunburst Les Paul. This is like 1973. And he said, take this, you'll like this, you'll like this. I took the Strat, that was it, no looking back. It's a great guitar.
Hey, Lars Guitars.
Hey, Lars.
Hey, Lars. Hey, Taylor, see that message from BV right there? He breaks it all down. I really want to try one of the black Iridium editions, though, because I like what Thomas is doing.
So, all right, so you get to California.
How did I know we were going to get back there?
Because this is what this is about.
I haven't seen him in almost 10 years.
It's been about 10
Wow.
years.
I moved to Florida years ago. And, you know, and I haven't
We were
seen
playing
him.
in we were playing in a band up here together.
We used to do a jam night, too, on
Yeah.
Monday nights. We did that for about 2 years.
Yeah, it was a lot
We
of
used to have
fun.
a lot of fun. We'd get up, play 4 or 5 tunes, open it up. All kinds of great players would come down. Sometimes last 2, 3 in the morning. It was great.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Good times. So
So you want the dirt, I know. What do you want?
all right, so when do you finally move to LA?
Okay, I was living actually down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I left sometime, I think it was January or February. Let me see, 21, 75. Right. Okay, it was 1975, early 76. Early 76. And I moved out to Los Angeles. My cousin worked in the studios out there. He worked at Universal, Burbank Studios. Everybody in the Valley worked in the studios back then. You know, they were great jobs, great money, great benefits, everything. But he was telling me about these guys that he went to school with. You know, they happened to be Jeff Beccaro or the Beccaro brothers, Steve Lukather, all the guys from Toto. I mean, guys that were local Valley guys. And, you know, we'd go watch them play. And I met a guy. I was SIR one day in Hollywood. And I don't remember why I was there. I mean, we're going back, 45 years? And I remember Lou Rawls was in there rehearsing, and somebody that I had met was rehearsing with him. This guy came out, and I met him. His name was Fred Allen. Fred Allen was part of the original Buddy Miles Express when Buddy had 2 drummers back in. This was right after the Hendrix days. 71, 70, 72, 73. When Buddy did the stuff with Carlos Santana,
Okay.
that was the period. And I met Fred, and we just got to talking. And he said to me, he goes, look, you know, I have a studio. Why don't you come down and you know, if you ever need to play, let me know. So I said, sure. It was a place called the Dress Review on Hollywood Boulevard. A lot of musicians knew about this. Rufus was rehearsing down there, Chaka Khan at the time. Who else? Fred was there. But anyway, I got to know Fred, and I started rehearsing in the studio. One night, a bunch of us there, because we would go in the studio sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night when everybody was done rehearsing.
Yeah.
Fred would give us the studio till whenever, 8, 9 o'clock the next morning. You know, we'd go down there with our little 6-packs and stuff and bring our amps. And he said, you don't have to worry about it. Use our equipment. And they had walls of Marshalls in there and great drum set. Fred was probably one of the most kind-hearted guys you could ever meet. You know, and I got friendly with his guitar player, a fellow named Paul Marshall. And he says, yeah, you can plug into my amp anytime. So we'd go down there and play. We played for hours, weeks. I mean, just had a ball. We'd take a little cassette player and sit there and just play. One night I'm playing, and this guy walks in with a top hat, kind of a heavy-set guy. And I look, and I said, I know who that is. It was Buddy Miles. So he says to me, he goes, can I see your guitar? And at the time, I had a 63 Strat. And I said,
nice.
Yeah, sure. So he took the guitar, and he turned it upside down. And he started playing it. I'm looking at this guy. I said, I know Buddy plays drums because I knew who he was. He started playing some wicked, wicked blues. So I said, oh, wow. So we got to talking and, you know, hi, how are you? Take care. Nice meeting you, blah, blah, blah. A couple of days later, I'm rehearsing in the same studio, and Buddy's band had just got finished. They were getting ready to go out on the road, and their roadie quit. So their tour manager at the time was a guy named Joe Bianchi, and the other guy was I don't know, it was J.J. Smalls or J.J. He had worked with Kiss afterward, years after. He was with Kiss for a long time. I said, you know, he said, I need somebody. I said, I'll go. So I knew all the guys in Buddy's band. Greg Parker was playing guitar. Greg runs the Blues Society in Chicago these days.
Oh, cool.
Great guitar player. Another guy used to lend me his amps all the time. And so I took my stuff with me. I took my half stack, my guitar, and that's it. We went on the road. Halfway through the tour, something happened. I don't know if it was medically with Greg. He had to leave. So Buddy was going to cancel the tour. So the guys in the band goes, hey, Anthony plays guitar. She kind of looked at me, and he was a little apprehensive, you know, which I understand because he didn't want to change horses in the middle of the street, so to speak.
Yeah.
So finally, I guess the horn player, a guy named Toby Butler. Toby was the lead sax player for LTD.
Uh-huh.
And Johnny Murray was the piano player for him. Johnny used to do a lot of commercials and sessions. And Fitzpatrick McGee was a harp player. He played with the guys from War, Lee Oscar, and all those guys. This was like the whole crew that I literally just fell into. And they talked Buddy into it, and that's where it all started for me. And I remember we finished up the tour. We went out, we toured around, we did a whole bunch of stuff. And the guy kind of took me under his wing and showed me the ropes. He knew I was new. By the grace of God, I managed to just stay humble and just say, okay, yeah, you say that? Okay. And he took me to places where you wouldn't even believe. But because I was with Buddy, it was like, hey, you're cool, come on in.
So how old are you? How old are you on this tour with Buddy Miles?
21.
Wow.
21 years old. We wrapped up the tour. I came back to L.A. The bass player in that band was a good friend of mine. He passed about a year ago. His name was Willie Bass. Years later, we went together and put a band called Black Sheep.
Wait a minute. Well, I was just about to say Willie Bass from Black Sheep.
That's right. I was the original guitar player before Paul Gilbert. I got hepatitis. Paul came in and did the record.
Huh. The Black Sheep record.
Yes. Trouble in the Streets.
And so Slash was in Black Sheep.
Slash was after me. Because what happened, I had gotten sick. I had got hepatitis really bad. And they had to keep going on. The original deal that Willie had is we were going to sign with Motown. Motown had opened a label called Prodigal Records, which was going to be their rock label, their premier rock label. They had us in Mars Studios. We did demos. We did all kinds of stuff. We were dealing with a guy. I had no idea who it was. It turned out to be Berry Gordy's brother, Fuller Gordy. And this label was his pet peeve. I'll never forget it. I was in the studio one night. I just laid down a whole bunch of guitar tracks. It was in Mars Studios in LA. And this woman comes up to me, very well dressed, very articulate, and she says, yeah, Mr. Gordy would like to know, what are you guys thinking costume-wise? Do you need anything, wardrobe? And I'm saying, Mr. Gordy. I grabbed my friend. Come here, you. Who's this Mr. Gordy? He goes, that's Fuller Gordy. He goes, that's Berry Gordy's brother from Motown. I said, now you tell me. So we started talking about it. Anyway, I had gotten hepatitis, and I had to back out of the band. That's when, originally, before Paul Gilbert, Mitch Perry was in the band. He was the original replacement. After Mitch,
great guitar player
and a great guy. Some friends of his in Florida that I know, he's from Florida. A good friend of his is a friend of mine, a guitar player, phenomenal guy. His name's Jimmy Fiano. Jimmy played with Bad Company for a while in the 80s. Wow. Really nice guy. When I got to Florida, he was really hospitable, really kind of brought me in, introduced me to people. So that's it. Then it was years later that we found the connection, to what's his name, to Mitch. But that's how it started with Willie. But Willie and I played with Buddy in the 70s on those tours. So we came back and we had a bunch of original bands. I got involved. But at that time, you could walk into the Starwood and see Van Halen. And
Please say you walked into the Starwood and saw Van Halen.
Yeah, there was a club in LA, the Starwood it was called.
Yeah.
It was like the premier rock club.
Uh-huh. And you saw Van Halen in the Starwood?
Yeah, they opened up for my friend's band, Fresh Start. There was maybe 10 people in the audience. And I'm looking at these guys going, wow, these are the bands out here. I better go home and start practicing instead of hanging out. But it was around that time, even Dockett, even George Lynch. There was a band called Exciter, The Boys, that George was in.
Right.
Randy was playing in Quiet Riot. I was in a band called Pretty Poison. We used to open for them. Really nice guy. Really great guy. He used to sit in his dressing room with a tweed Harvard and that white Les Paul, and he would sit there and warm up before the gigs. Good guitar player. Really good guitar player.
Anthony, all right, so let's unpack that for a minute. So,
hey, listen, you asked me to go back 40 some odd years.
So so let's do this one by one, just really quick, because you saw a very young Ed Van Halen,
yes,
at the Starwood with 10 people in the audience. Yeah. Now, when you saw him that first time playing, was it obvious to you as an experienced player? I mean, you'd already toured with Miles, who had been in the presence of Hendrix. I mean, you had already been around heavy hitters. Was it obvious to you at that first sighting of Eddie that he was going to be something super special?
My friend, there was no doubt. When they came on and played, from the minute they hit the stage, if you've never seen Van Halen, especially with David Lee Roth, nothing against Sammy. Chuck Ruff from Sammy's band was a very good friend of mine. Roth came out and let you know, we're here, and just grabbed hold of you. Eddie was 18. He was a kid just playing on a $200 guitar that he built. Literally. A Mighty Mite body, a cheap neck, and a humbucker, which turned out to be a PAF, but he didn't even know it. And let me tell you something. When he did Eruption, it was like, oh my God. It was like, huh? Despite what people say, him, George, Randy, Peter Castle, who was another friend of mine, who wasn't as well known as the other three guys, who was probably as good as all three of them. There was a healthy rivalry there. There wasn't this dissension. They didn't like each other, or Ed didn't like this one, and George didn't. No, it was not like that at all. They had a respect for each other. But when they stepped on stage, they meant business. And I'm telling you, that band was happening. The first time I saw them, I was stunned. I was like, if anybody has been in the Starwood, anybody that's listening, that's on this, that has ever been in LA and was around at that time, there was a balcony upstairs in the Starwood. They had a bar up there, and you could sit and literally like look right down at the stage. And I was on Ed's side of the stage, and I'd never heard of these guys. The minute he walked out and hit a chord, it's like, oh my God. It was the same thing with bands like, Motley Crue, Quiet Riot. Around those Starwood days was when I met Frankie Bonelli. Frankie was playing with Steppenwolf. I was playing with Buddy. Both bands were booked by a company out of Phoenix, Arizona called Advent Talent. And that's how we became friends. I met him there. We hit it off. Unfortunately, Frankie passed last October from pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. We were friends, him and I, till the end. And we met in 1977.
Wow. Charles Green says, yes, he's been to the Starwood and he's had drinks at that upstairs bar.
Then tell him I was sitting right on the rail. Right, Charles? You know what a rail was?
So same type of impression the first time you saw Randy play, first time you saw George play, same type of, seeing those guys, you just knew immediately they were onto something different.
Randy, we used to open up for. I had a band. I was in a band back then called Pretty Poison. And it was 5-piece. It was hard rock, kind of like glam rock. We used to open for the original Quiet Riot. I got friendly with Kevin. I knew Randy. I wasn't buddies with Randy. I was more friendlier with Kevin. And later on with Kevin and Frankie, because Kevin knew how close I was to Frankie when Rudy brought him into the band.
So Kevin is Kevin Dubrow.
Kevin Dubrow. Yeah. But, you kind of had the feeling that there was something special going on there. George Lynch was playing with a band. I don't know if they were called Exciter or the Boys at that time.
Okay.
And that was at a place called the Rock Corporation on Oxnard Street in Van Nuys, California. Jeff Simons owned the place. And if you look on the back of the first Van Halen album, they meant his name because they used to play there all the time. I never knew it. That was, a little bit before I got there to California. But yeah, when you saw George play, guy was off the chain. Him, Eddie, Randy, Peter. These guys had their own. You knew that these guys were master craftsmen. You just knew it. Their own. George could play 2 notes. It was him. Ed could do the same thing. Randy, Peter. You could just hear them. They all had their own sound, their own signature. That's one thing in LA at the time. Every guitar player had his own signature. You could hear him, his own tone, his own sound. It's really cool.
So we're all huge fans of those players, of Randy and Ed, King Edward, obviously, and George Lynch is huge. They made it. They're household names among guitar players now. Anthony, how many people did you come in contact with at that time? Because there was, as you said, something magical going on. How many people did you come in contact with that were phenomenal that aren't household names?
The one guy I was telling you about, my friend Peter Castle. He was unbelievable. Let's move over a little bit to another genre. You can go from Sunset Strip and see those guys, and then go into the Valley to the Baked Potato. And there was Robin Ford, Scott Henderson, Alan Holdsworth, Carl Varian. Oh, God, who else? Steve Lukather. Yeah. All of those guys could be at the Baked Potato. Or you could be at a jam night somewhere at the Captain's Cabin or one of these clubs. Somebody will walk in from one of the studios on Lancashire Boulevard, just want to have a beer, and they know there's a jam night going in, and it's like, here. Just hand them your guitar. And my experience has always been, they've always been cool people. They've always been really cool, especially Steve. I haven't seen him in quite some time, but
I think the last time you saw him was the last time you were up here, right? 10 years ago? Lukather?
I think a little before, when you guys went to see them, when he was doing the thing with Larry Carlton.
No, but weren't you at the Bitter? No, that wasn't you. It was Osno.
No, that was when BB King's.
Was it BB
when him and
King's?
Larry played BB King's. Yeah. I mean, he's besides being probably like one of the most underrated guitar players of all time. He is absolutely the most funniest human being I've ever met in my life.
Lukather?
If you ever run into him, man, be prepared to laugh because he will have you in knots. You know, when I saw he was doing the Beatles reunion, him and Peter Frampton were the two guitar players doing the whole Beatles thing.
Yeah.
What was it? 13 in 2013 was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the 50-year reunion for the Beatles, and it was Steve and Peter. I don't know Peter Frampton, but I know Steve. I was really happy for him, and then now he's playing with Ringo.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and these guys, I got to tell you, the farther up the chain, the nicer, more humble, and just like, oh, you like that? Here, play it. You know, he hands you his 58 Les Paul. Yeah, play it. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just recently, Lukather, who still owns that guitar, Bonamassa has since made it back to everything original on it, original tuning keys. He is now taking that guitar serious to what it is. But back then, it was just another tool.
You talking about the Sunburst that Steve had?
Yeah, still has it.
He did all the Toto stuff with it.
Yeah.
He did the tubes.
But his
That whole
tech,
album would Talk to You Later and all of that.
his tech
Yeah.
had changed the tuning pegs on it from the original Flusons to Yamaha style Grovers. They were Yamahas, and changed a couple things on it. And recently, Bonamassa got a hold of it and said, "You don't want this on here. You want the original stuff back on here." Got the original stuff, put it on a guitar, and now it's $1 million guitar again. You know, it's and Steve Lukather now holds that guitar in very, very high regard again.
So, Anthony, how much time did you spend on the Sunset Strip, and how much time did you spend at the Baked Potato? Because I mean, if you walk into the Baked Potato and you see Michael Landau and Lukather and Robin Ford and Scott Henderson, you see all these guys, and then you get so there's all this. How did you divide your time?
It was interesting. I was actually blessed with an opportunity that I wasn't smart enough due to youth to take advantage of. They were starting this new school out in California called Guitar Institute.
Uh-huh.
After I played with Buddy, we did a show at the Starwood. We went down and jammed and played. One of the guys approached me and he said, "Hey, why don't you come? We're starting this new school. Go through, take the classes, take the courses, and come back and teach." And I kind of like, that's like work. Why do you want me to work? This is what I'm doing. Not realizing, you know, when you're young, you don't think about that. You know, you're 22, you're 23, you're out touring, playing, pocket full of money. Who wants to work? You know, not thinking of the opportunity that's being laid at your feet, you know. So I got to see a lot of that stuff. But unfortunately for me, I always gravitated towards the Strip, you know, because as things were getting better in my career, so were other problems in my life, so to speak.
The excess.
Huh?
The excess.
That was more than excess. It was ridiculous. You know, you see all these movies about the 80s and the drugs and the women and everything. I don't even think they tell nearly half of what was going on.
Oh, wow.
And even if you watch that movie, The Dirt, you know, what Nicky and those guys did, I mean, I've witnessed things 100 times worse than that. But you know, look, but thank God, you know, in 1988, I got sober. I changed all that. I've been sober ever since.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A lot of those guys have gotten clean and sober. But I always gravitated towards that side. You know, I always felt that's where I was more comfortable. You know, when I would go to the Potato and places like that, or NAMM shows and guys like that were playing, I wouldn't even say I played guitar, because I felt that in the presence of these guys, it's like, it was kind of intimidating. It really was. You know, I mean, you're sitting across from Scott Henderson, and here's this kid who just picks up a guitar and, oh yeah, play this again, and just as fast as he could think it, spit it out.
Pretty amazing player.
Unbelievable. And a nice guy. Nice guy. You know, same thing with Robin, you know, go see him play and you know, what kind of pickups was that? Was this, you know, what are you doing? The time he was using a Fender Twin, you know, and it's like, wow, man, I never heard a Twin sound like that. No pedals.
And back then,
Straight in.
he wasn't very learned. I mean, he was just naturally.
A blues guy.
He had the natural ability to play, and back then he was just playing shapes, not really knowing what he was doing. Now he does. Now he knows everything. But back then it was like he was playing like he does now without knowing the theory.
Right.
But he heard it all. He heard it all, and he could play. He could play what he wanted to hear, and I think that was the special. I think that's super special for all of these guys, that they're able to internalize what they want to hear, and they're able to figure out a way to make it happen with this. When you think about a Holdsworth, when you think about all the innovation behind a Holdsworth, a Henderson, a Landau, Lukather, kind of player, I mean, it sounds learned, but at the end of the day, they're playing the guitar. I mean, they're not doing math.
He attributed a lot of his stuff. He said he bought this book, Gene Baker, was it?
Yeah.
A guitar chord formula book. And I bought the book. I bought both books that this guy wrote. If you look at the books and look at the theory, and again, I'm really not a big theory guy. I understand enough to get around to where I can play what I need to play for any situation. I'm not a jazz player by any means. But if you look at that, you look at the way it's laid out, it makes perfect sense why this would have been his stepping stone to where he is.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the way he plays and how he applies things. Diminished, Mixolydian, Superlocrian, melodic minors.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy is just a master of it. He's been doing it so long.
Yeah.
He's just a master of it. Back then he was just a young blues guy, But man, really great.
Mm-hmm.
Really great.
Yeah, Robin Ford does an amazing job of the way that he can blend all of these things together. I'm still a believer, though, that he's got to just sit there and he's playing guitar with his ears, if that makes sense. He's playing on top of what he's actually hearing. I'm sure he isn't sitting there saying that, well, I'm going to descend this chord with a Mixolydian and I'm going to ascend it with melodic minor. I'm sure he's not thinking that way. He's saying, I want to hear this note here, and wherever that note might fit in, the theory guys will sit around and say, well, he's playing a flat 7 with a major third, so he's playing Mixolydian, but I don't think he's probably not thinking about it that way. I think the greats just play.
You know what? I believe that once even basic theory, and harmony, what works, thirds, sevens, flat 7s, sharp 5s, sharp 9s, and where to place those notes, and how to do that, it becomes second nature, because when you play a certain chord, this is what I want to hear over this chord.
Yeah.
And somehow it's just right at your fingertips.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed.
There's another guy out there, I don't know if you guys are probably familiar with, John Harrington.
Mm-hmm.
Plays with Steely Dan.
Yeah.
And Josh Smith.
Josh Smith is a friend of mine.
Josh Smith.
Amazing player.
He is and one of the nicest guys you will ever. I never met him personally. We spoke online with something. I ordered a course from Alan Hines. For some reason, I didn't get it. They had the wrong email address. So I reached out to Josh. I didn't know him. Just hey, how you doing on Instagram, and commenting on some of his work. And I said, is there any way you could help me? Little did I know, as soon as he saw that, he called the guy and said, hey, you got a guy here who's trying to get something. The guy called me within hours and said, hey, this is the email address I had. I said, no, that's the wrong one. It's the kind of guy he is.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah. Josh Smith is alumni on the show. He's
been on the show. Yeah.
He's a great guy. Great guy. Great player.
Great guitar player.
Oh, amazing.
Off the chain. He was at the Funky Biscuit in Florida, where I live, in Boca. And I was rehearsing or I was gigging that night. I'm not sure, but I wanted to go down and introduce myself and just say hello and just watch this guy. You know,
Yeah.
really, really, really good.
Sure.
Yeah.
So who are you guys? Tell me.
Ty?
I'm a new fan of Anthony Steele. That's who I am.
Yeah. Well-
So Anthony, when you're in California and you can't throw a rock without hitting an accomplished player. You're obviously an accomplished player, being able to navigate the same scene. How encouraging, discouraging is it to be surrounded with all of that creativity and innovation at one time?
Oh, it's absolutely motivational. Absolutely. Because if you really want to make it, let's say, or you really want to be a professional musician, let's not just say make it, whatever make it is to you, whether it's working, whether it's doing sessions, whatever it is. At that time, you had every opportunity available to you, and people were always looking. But unfortunately, a lot of people went to the wrong things for the wrong reasons. You know, you get involved with the party scene, the party crowd, and, you know, remember something, you know, if you're sitting around partying with guys and, you know, these guys are already out on the charts for platinum records, they've already done it. You're trying to get there. Why would you want to deter yourself from where you're going to go? You know, and it's very easy to get lost out there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get lost.
Lots of distractions.
Yeah, but like I say, thank God I adjusted my sails and went with the wind. You know, then I came back to New York in '91. And it was weird. When I came back, I had to start all over. I didn't know anybody. I knew Larry Mitchell, and then I met Dave.
Uh-huh.
You know, I was actually at the point where I was going to say, you know what? I had a hell of a run for 15 years. Why don't I just find something else? And Larry looked at me and he goes, why? Why would you do that? And
It's the truth.
And it happened completely by accident. I was driving somewhere. He was walking up the street. And I had just gotten back a few days before. Hey, Larry. I said, come on, I'll give you a ride. And he got in the truck and we started talking. It was good, you know, from Cedarhurst to Rockwood.
Yeah.
Good 4 or 5 miles where we had to go. And we just started talking. Yeah, I'm doing this. I just got back and, you know, I don't know anymore. And that's when I got the, why? Why would you do that? He says, no, you can play, man. Don't do it. Keep going. I went home. I thought about it for a few days. I said, you know what? I've been through a lot, you know, and now I'm at a point in my life where I'm clean. There is nothing but a clear path in front of me. It's up to me what I do with it. And
that's cool.
That's
tell us about some of your influence. So you saw Page very early, and that obviously had a profound impact. But you know, influence-wise, you saw these great players, but who did you connect with the most?
Easy, Jimi Hendrix.
Awesome.
First time I heard that riff from Purple Haze, and Eric Clapton. When I was a kid, I remember in Brooklyn, I was walking through an alleyway going home one day, and one of the kids I knew, his older brother, he was playing Sunshine of Your Love. And when I heard that lick that Clapton did, I was like, what? Oh my God, what is that? You know, I had gotten my guitar about maybe a year or so before that. And guys like him, Jeff Beck.
Oh, you're a big Beck fan.
Oh, yeah. I loved all the old Jeff Beck, Truth, Beckola, Wired, Rough. I liked all the Rough and Ready stuff he did. Going Down, White Album. Leslie West. Leslie was in New York. When I was a kid, I used to ride my bicycle from where I lived to Island Park. There was a club there called the Action House. It was on Long Beach Road. Any of the New York people will definitely know that. Guys at least are, you know, my age. And I couldn't get in at night. I was too young. You know, besides, they wouldn't let me out of the house that late at night. I used to ride my bicycle there because I knew in the afternoon the bands would be playing. I came to realize it was sound check, you know. I'd sit by the door like this. You know, Leslie or somebody go, "Hey, kid," and pat me on the head or something. I was like,
So is that the spooky tooth days, or was that
exactly.
Spooky Tooth. So you ran into Mick Jones when he was in Spooky Tooth?
I saw them at the Academy when they had the original guitar player. It wasn't Mick. It was Luther Grosvenor. We changed his name to Ariel Bender.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, and he was actually one of the first guys besides Leslie I saw play Les Paul Jr. and get that tone.
So what kind of so when you began getting out and gigging, you got Hendrix as a huge influence and Beck as a huge influence. Did you tend to gravitate towards Strats early on?
I experimented with a lot of stuff. I liked Les Pauls. You know, back then I wasn't really that good, so a Les Paul you could hide a little more behind, especially like with a Marshall or Fuzzbox or something. Strats, you really had to play and trying to learn and figure out like the Hendrix stuff, like Little Wing and Wind Cries Mary, which till today is one of my favorite tunes. You know, it was a bit of a challenge, but it kind of pushed you. You know, but I've had Strats, Les Paul Juniors I really liked a lot. I remember I bought a blonde one from a guy out in front of Sam Ash when Sam Ash was in Hempstead for $50. A blonde junior. I think it was a 54 or 56.
Could be either.
The TV.
TV yellow.
Yes. I wish I still had that guitar.
Sure.
It sounded unbelievable.
Single cut.
Yeah. And I had a 50-watt Marshall head, and I had traded that to a guy for a 200-watt Marshall that I had gotten from Richie Siniglia. Richie was a guitar player from a band called The Illusion. I don't know if anybody remembers. Long Island people will definitely remember them years ago. But the amp was too big. I kept blowing it up. You know, I was trying to crank it up, and I didn't know anything about ohmages and cabinets. And every time I'd blow it up, I'd call him up. I'd say it don't work. And he would send me to Unicord Electronics to a guy named Tony Frank. Tony was probably one of the premier guys back then. I didn't know it again. I was a kid. You know, he was doing Hendrix's amps. He did Clapton's. He did Page's, everybody's. He was the guy, the amp guy. He was like Tony Bruno 30 years or 40 years before him.
So it's amazing to hear Anthony spew out all these names like they're from today. I can't remember half the people.
Well, I'm leaving a lot out. I remember what I can remember clearly. So.
What were you playing in when you were in Hollywood on the Strip? What kind of guitar were you playing there?
Amazing.
Yeah. When I first got out there, I was playing an old special through a 50-watt Marshall that I got from a guy named Paul Marshall, actually. He was a guitar player in a band, Fresh Start. The band I told you that Van Halen opened up for.
Yeah.
We had become friends, and I bought a 100-watt, and it was too loud, and it was too new. And I said, will you trade me for your amp? He said, yeah. He was getting the better of the deal. I just liked the 50. Come to realize it was one of the old 50s, like one of the first ones they made, you know? And I loved it. And so I was
the
playing
original small box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was playing the special. And then I traded. I got a couple of different guitars. I got a 69 Black Beauty that I got from a guy on Lancashire Boulevard. That was a really nice guitar.
I remember one of the last guitars you had when you were here in New York was a TV Yellow special, a beat up one. I so wanted that guitar.
I sold it.
I know you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at what I'm sitting around here.
I
Mr.
know.
Guitar himself. I'm gonna leave here with a few of them.
Sure. You won't even notice, Anthony. Help yourself.
I know.
You won't
Hey,
notice.
go to the bathroom, quick.
So I can put this 335 up my shirt.
Well, I don't know. I'm looking at more to burst. I don't know. You know, it's funny. You guys ever remember the Gibson summer jams that they used to have?
Oh yeah.
And I was part of the house band there with Leroy Purnell, Johnny A, who's a good friend of mine, great player. Ira Stanley, he played with a band years ago called Dixie Peach.
He had a dumble on the stage he wouldn't let anyone touch.
Oh, that's right. You came with us.
Yeah.
That was 2008. I believe.
8, 9, and 10. They did it for 3 years.
Well, I think I was there in 08. So
You had to have seen me.
We were there. That was the year that we were there.
Right.
We were there in 08.
Right. I was there. I was playing as part with when Jack Pearson played.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jack.
I got pictures
yeah.
of me, Jack, and Leroy playing guitar.
I think Jack played an SG that day.
No, he played that double cut. What is it, 336 or something?
Oh, that's right. A small body 330. Yes.
Right. And I had no idea who the guy was, but he was phenomenal.
Anthony, one of our friends in the chat, Citizen Kane, says, if you could have only one guitar and one amp and one pedal, what would it be?
66 JTM 45, 54 Les Paul Jr., and no pedal, an Echoplex.
Oh, nice.
That's it.
Nice.
Cranked.
Nice.
Tone for days. You know, a lot of what to me
New
is
tape or old tape in your Echoplex?
no, your own tape. You have to make it. You have to buy the Memorex or the TDK, take it off the reel and wrap the reel itself. That's what we used to do because, you know, they would get caught in the head. You had to bring your alcohol and Q-tips and clean the head. Plus, the Echoplex gave it a little kick. So it was like you had a pedal.
Yeah, it
in
was
front of
distortion. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Cool.
Those JTM 45s scream. They just scream. You know, you could do Led Zeppelin or you could do Aretha Franklin. You know, depending on how you set your guitar.
When you started playing with Buddy, what was the most unexpected part of that gig as a musician? I mean, it's Buddy Miles. I mean, there's going to be an awful lot of fanfare that goes along in playing that. But what was really unexpected for you? What surprised you about that?
That I was standing next to him. I was nervous. I was in awe. But yet, Buddy had a way, and anybody that knows Buddy or has played with him, Buddy had a way of making you feel like you were happening. He made you feel comfortable. He made you feel good about what you did. And when he'd look at you, he'd smile a certain way when he was playing. You knew it was happening.
How often did you have to restrain yourself from talking about Hendrix with Buddy?
I didn't talk about him at all. I listened because everybody that got around Buddy
wanted to talk about Hendrix. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually played the Rainbow Bridge Strat, the white one Buddy had.
Really?
Yeah. I saw the platinum record for Banded Gypsies and for, I think it was Electric Ladyland that Buddy had. Because I also was friendly with Mike Finnegan. Mike played on, he was the organ player and piano player on Rainy Day and all that stuff on Electric Ladyland.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's a legend in his own right. Phenomenal player, phenomenal guy. But people would come to him and ask him, you know, hey, what was it like? What was this like? What was that like? You know, and I would just sit there. To me, I looked at it as like, you know, these guys were friends. You know, why would I want to keep asking him about somebody and bringing up things that may hurt the guy? You know, because as crazy as he was and as nutty as he was, he still had that heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really had a heart. He wasn't.
Sure.
He was a very, very good person deep down inside, and like myself and others, you know, we all battle our demons. You know, it doesn't mean we're bad people; it means we're sick people.
Uh-huh.
You know, but I would listen. I've heard every story, everything. They used to hang out with Sly, the two of them. That was the crew, Buddy Hendrix and Sly Stone. And Buddy knew I was a Hendrix freak. I mean, you know, when I saw that gold record, I went like this and stood there. I couldn't even move. I was like, oh my God, Hendrix. Again, I was a 21-year-old kid. You know what I mean? So, but I heard a lot of interesting things, a lot of good things. I know that in 1970, Banded Gypsies, Led Zeppelin and the Stones were the 3 highest paid acts. They were making $100,000 a show. Now,
Wow.
in today's money,
Right.
that's what,
nothing.
10 million?
Yeah, today's money.
That would be like 10 million today?
I mean, they get 100,000 to play one song.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And he also told me about a lot of the bad things, management, people, what things were doing, about what Mike Jeffries and was going on with Jimmy. And it was sad, some of it. You know what I mean? It was sad, but I was just, hey, I was a kid from Brooklyn, man. Like to go to LA and walk into all of that.
Sure.
It was
That's pretty amazing.
Oh my God.
It's an amazing story. I just became a fan of yours.
Oh,
Anthony.
yeah, in that case, I want that Les Paul. Where's the rest of the guitar?
I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here thinking about your 1 degree of separation from Hendrix, and I'm thinking about how many times you played with Buddy Miles, where he was passing on some sort of experience that he learned from Hendrix onto you. I mean, what an amazing opportunity that was for such a young player.
Well, a lot of things also that people don't know about Buddy, a lot of people don't. He was Wilson Pickett's original drummer.
Yeah.
God. If you listen to, what is it, Mustang Sally, Land of 1,000 Dances, all that stuff that Wilson Pickett did, most of that is Buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a 15-year-old Buddy, and then you listen to the Electric Flag. He used to love Mike Bloomfield, Buddy. He always used to tell me, unfortunately after Mike passed, it's, oh man, you and Michael, he said, I would have loved to have you meet him. I would have just sat down like, yeah, just play, let me watch, let me see what I can remember.
I mean, Mike Bloomfield,
when
he played at Telly, he was in the clouds. And then when he switched to that Les Paul,
the burst.
Oh my God, you thought he was amazing with the Telecaster, and you listen to him with a Les Paul, and it's like, it's just next. It's just forget it how good it is.
Yeah, I mean, just straight in. He'd go right into a twin or to a bandmaster or a tweed, not a tweed, the white blonde.
A blonde, yeah.
A blonde one or a black bandmaster, a bass. Straight in. Buddy said, fire it up. Everything was in his hands and in his heart. He was really, like I say, I was blessed to be around people like that.
I want to ask you a very selfish question. How loud were you guys playing back in the day? I mean, were you guys completely? Today's environment, as you know, everything gets quiet. It seems like every year, everything gets quieter and quieter and quieter. How loud were you guys playing back in the day?
Let me give you an example. When we would play the Starwood or the Troubadour, Black Sheep, I would take 5 cabinets and 3 heads. I'd use 2 50-watt cabinets, wire the outside cabinets with 2 50-watt Marshalls, stack 3 heads up in the center with 2 stacks on the other side, and an Echoplex. Straight in with a Les Paul Jr. or a Les Paul or my special, and just dime everything and turn the treble back to like about 7. But that was okay. People would playing club gigs with Marshall stacks. Now when I walk in, they go, "Don't play too loud."
And I got bring a 212 cabinet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you leave a 212 on the loading dock, right? I mean, they flip out when they see a 212 these days.
Yeah. I use these days a 72 Deluxe that I've had Mark Kane redo for me and go through, and I put a gold Celestian in it, and I have a plexiglass screen like Bonamassa uses.
Yeah.
This way, I don't fight with soundmen anymore. I do a Stones tribute. The band's called Start Me Up. We're based out of Florida. And I put it in. I get the sound that I want. This way, they can't say I'm too loud. I can get the tone that I need to hear. It's mostly clean when you're doing Keith stuff. He very rarely uses distortion. And the sound man has complete control over it. I take my wireless. I'll walk out into the audience, into the auditorium. Okay, let me hear this. Great, good to go. That's simple.
Jeff K wants to know what were the songs in the Buddy Miles, what songs were you playing?
Them Changes, Down by the River, a song called Roadrunner. Anything after that? My memory, and a lot of blues. I couldn't give you an exact song list.
He would just say play a blues and he'd just come up with
That's
the
it.
with the
He'd
lyrics.
take my guitar and turn it over, or he'd just grab my backup and just flip it around.
Mhm.
But yes,
Great songs. I'm a Roadrunner. I mean, such a powerful song.
Rockin' and Rollin' in the Streets of Hollywood. That's another one that we used to do. But the recorded version actually on YouTube, it's not the way we did it. He had a full horn section, ripping guitars. And at that time, too, he had 2 drummers. So it was wild. It was great.
Anthony, how much, because so much was happening, you really were at the center of the musical universe at that point. And how often would musicians move from band to band back then? And here's the root of the question. Would musicians get in there and soldier through it with the same guys determined to make it with these guys in this band, with this name, with this brand, or were guys always looking for their next opportunity until they got that contract?
You know what? I would say a little bit of both. A lot of guys were there with strictly business. If they got into a band and after 6, 7, 8, 9 months, nothing was happening, time to form something else. You're talking the 80s. That whole,
Yeah.
Okay. It's like when Motley got together.
Uh-huh.
When they played the gig, when they played the Whiskey, or if they played the Troubadour, they played the guy who put them in New Year's Eve was a guy named Tommy Petra. He was a friend of mine. He had a band called RPM, and I used to sub with him. He put them in New Year's Eve and kind of gave them their first start. I think it was 80, 81. The place was packed. So you knew right away if you were in a band if something was happening or not. And guys didn't want to waste time. Bottom line is, it's music business, not friends business.
Yeah.
Guys went in and the serious guys, if you believed in something, you stuck with it until you got to a point where it either fell apart or you got signed. Black Sheep was a perfect example of that. We got together. We didn't know. We just wanted to go out and play and do what we want to do. We'd all been playing in other bands. Willie was writing songs. And I said, yeah, come on, let's just do it. He had a studio in North Hollywood. We practically lived in that studio. We rehearsed 5 days a week. And every weekend we'd just throw a big party, a couple of kegs of beer, call every maniac in town up. Come on. And we'd try new songs on them. Then that week, go play the Troubadour, or go play the Whiskey, or wherever we were, whatever shows we were doing, FM station, any of them.
So, Randy,
I haven't heard you. Yeah, I haven't heard you mention FM station yet. What was your favorite place to play?
Me?
Yeah.
Any place that paid us.
Of course. Yeah, of
Spoken
course.
like a true pro.
Well, you weren't getting paid back then.
Yeah.
In a lot of those clubs, you had to sell 100 tickets.
you paid to play.
Exactly.
Yep.
You had to sell 100 tickets
Yeah.
in order to fill up the club. But if you had followings, like Motley, they would get $2,000 for a show. That was unheard of. But the bar must have made about $30,000 just in liquor sales and ticket sales. But that's how record companies would gauge, who to keep an eye on.
Sure.
And back then in the early 80s, they really didn't care too much about problems. If you could make money, if they could make money off you, they didn't care. They thought you were going to make it. They didn't care. Black Sheep, we had something unique. It was a 3-piece metal band, but there was a black man up front, and that was Willie. And when he sang, he reminded me of a cross between Steve Marriott, Robert Plant, and Rod Stewart.
Ooh, that's pretty damn good.
But with soul, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
The drummer we had was a kid named Todd DeVito. He was 17 years old. His father was Frank DeVito. He was the drummer for the Baja Marimba Band.
Huh.
Well, it just so happens that Todd's dad, Frank and Buddy Rich were best friends.
Buddy Rich had a friend?
Yeah. And guess who Todd's drum teacher was? Buddy Rich.
Wow.
So this kid at 17 years old was doing things that you saw Terry Bozzio doing at the same time. That's how good he was. So there was a magic between the three of us. That's why that happened. And people would see that. Companies would see that. Remember, these guys are out there. They were looking for the next big thing. Once Motley broke, then would Quiet Riot.
You ever hear my Buddy Rich joke?
No.
All right, so Buddy Rich passes away. So Gene Krupa would call Buddy's wife. Excuse me, hello, is Buddy there? Buddy's wife would say, no, I'm sorry, he just passed away. Okay, thank you. A couple days later, he'd call back. Hello, is Buddy there? No, I'm sorry, he passed away a couple days ago, last week. Oh, I'm so sorry. A few days later, he'd call back again. Hi, is Buddy there? Excuse me, didn't you call me a couple times and ask me that? He says, yeah, but I just love hearing you say he passed away.
Oh, my gosh.
On that note.
A couple of questions for you, Anthony. Favorite song to play and why?
That's a tough one. One of them is definitely Wind Cries Mary. It's just so soulful. I mean, a lot of guitar players today, or a lot of the kids coming up today, they don't know about that type of stuff. But I just love it. I love the rhythm work that Hendrix did. He was just off the charts. Freeway Jam, because it's so open and in the key that it's in, and, it's just, you can really experiment. You can really go out there. Take it to the edge, you come back. Take it to the edge, you come back. But lately, anything is paying.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well,
Charles wants to know, did you play the Whiskey in 80 or 81?
Yes. Yes, I did. And that was with Black Sheep.
Cool.
Yeah. That was around the time when Motley was playing there. Who else? There was Quiet Riot was playing there. All those bands. It was that was the whole scene. Fun days.
That's so cool.
Now, when did you leave Los Angeles?
I left in the summer of '91.
Good timing.
Yeah. Yeah. They had, besides the earthquake that happened, I was there for the earthquake in 87 or 88. 87, that earthquake. And October 8th, the one in Oakland. But I had just gotten clean March of 88 by the grace of God. And I said, you know what? I need a change. And I wanted to get away. Because part of why I wanted to stop at that time was I wasn't sure if I could still continue to do what I love to do without all the interference, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Came to realize I have a choice. I could say I want to or I don't want to. And, I made the choice I don't want to. So, and I actually found musicians that were in the same frame of mind that I was, doing the same thing I was. It was sober. And they said, no, man, you can do this. And here we am years later. I never even believed it, that I'd still be doing it.
I remember going to one-year anniversaries.
Oh, yeah?
And I was completely impressed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was completely
Well, you're easily impressed.
It was one of your early anniversaries. It was me, and it may have been Rob, and I think Larry was there. And I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Because, I never really drank, and I certainly never did anything else. But I know it's not easy. When you start doing that stuff, it just overcomes everything. It overcomes everything. And for someone to just say no and just stop it and keep it out of it, it's incredible. It's an incredible thing that you did and that you're still doing. It's incredible.
When you're involved in it, you don't realize that it's taking you down rapidly. You think, hey, this is normal. We're in the studio 3 days partying, doing all kinds of drugs and acting like fools. You know, I got 3 days to kill. I'm not doing nothing. Who am I hurting? I'm not hurting nobody. And then little by little, you start to see the decline. And as you start to see the decline, you lower the personal bar. Whereas, like, gee, if I got like him, I'd quit. Well, if I got like her, I'd quit. If I got like him, I'd quit. Meanwhile, you're already 3 rungs down on the ladder. You know, but you know, thank God we have choices today, and it's you know, and I choose the lifestyle that I have.
Well, you always have choices.
Great woman in my life.
You've decided
these things.
You've decided very early on to make the right choices, and it's good. And I'm not making this. I'm not stepping on a soapbox. I'm just very proud of this guy.
Yeah, congratulations.
What's wrong with that?
Thank you. I was reading some of the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a great community.
We do.
It's all live, and they're all great people.
Yeah.
Charlie Green. That's the crew show that started it all. Yes, it was that, and also the country club when the Sharks opened up for him. Yep.
Anthony, if a young player came to you and said, "Hey, I'm interested in the guitar. I love it. Where should I start? How should I start? What advice would you give them?"
It's like anything. Learn it. Study it. If this is what you really want to do, there are so many avenues right now that you could. It's funny you say that because sometimes I look back. You know, you always have those moments where you look back and say, you know, maybe I should have did this and maybe I should have did that, even though it's not going to change anything.
Right.
But it's one of those things where you, like in this reference, where you can pass on, do the things that I didn't do, so to speak. You know, it's like anything. If you want to be an engineer, what do? You go to school and you learn. You want to be a doctor, you go to school, you learn. You want to be an accountant, you go to school and learn. Today, they have an abundance of music programs where you can specialize in any instrument you want, and you could walk into any gig. Okay, like I say, living in Miami. Okay, we got a Latin gig tonight. Okay, here we go. Here's the chart. Thank you very much. Oh, wait a minute. Tomorrow you're playing blues. Oh, wait a minute. Saturday you're playing fusion over here. Oh, Sunday night, that's your bread and butter gig. It's a corporate gig. You're going to be playing everything from Boys to Men to you name it. So I would encourage versatility. I was lucky to be blessed with that gift. You know, especially cutting my teeth with Buddy. So.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm still struck. By the Buddy Miles thing because, you know, when he looked over to his right to give you a nod or give you a smile, the way you said that he did, just years earlier, he was looking over to his right, looking at Jimi Hendrix. I mean, I'm still struck by that. You know, I mean, the gravity of that is not lost on me whatsoever. Anthony, in today's gig, when you're talking about versatility and you would encourage versatility, tell us about the gear that you're using today to be the most versatile player you can be.
Well, each gig, I'll address that if that's how you like it. Classic rock band, I usually take a Les Paul, a Strat, and a Tele. I'll either use my 67 basement head and a 212 cabinet I built, or I have a Fender Blues DeVille 410, which is off the charts, or I'll take my 72 Deluxe and use that. For the Stones, mainly the 72 Deluxe, because Keith used twins.
Yeah.
I'm still using them.
Yeah. He uses old Tweed twins. I didn't want to spend $5,000 on a Tweed twin, even though that's probably one of my favorite amps, besides the Marshall. Just go straight in. For Glenn Baker, for the country guy, I use Telly's and I use the Deluxe. But on my pedal board, it's very simple. I have a compressor. I have a full-tone 69, and I have a Tour Pro that my friend George Bleekus from Pedalworks Toneworks? Pedalworks.
Pedalworks.
Pedalworks made years ago that I traded a guy for about 15 years ago, and somehow will not. Paul.
Those are
Derek Idiot.
those are great pedals.
I will never part with it. Everything I put next to it, it towers in comparison. And I bought myself an H9.
Uh-huh.
I bought a core and updated it with algorithms.
Yep.
And so that's
What
kind
do
of
you use what algorithm do you use the most in your H9?
depends. For the Stones, I use the tremolo. For Gimme Shelter, I use reverb and delay for Painted Black. I use a lot of I like their delay for solo.
Mm-hmm.
Their delay programs. They have the duck delay. They have various different types of delay that I like to use, and I can play with them on my laptop to dial it in. I was using I heard you guys talking before about TC Electronics.
Yep.
Using the loop, the X4 feedback.
I don't really know.
4 delay programs.
Oh,
The one you're going to pull up. That's it.
yeah, that was mine. I gave that to him.
It was too noisy. When I took that out of line, there is absolutely no noise in my rig, no matter what amp I use. Dead quiet, and that's why I like the H9 more importantly. But that pretty much covers it. I mean, those 3 guitars. If there's a question about something, even a corporate gig, I'll take a Strat, a Tele, and a Les Paul. If we do Tom Petty, I'll do a Tele. If we do Pitbull, I'll use a Strat. If we do rock stuff, I'll use the Les Paul. I have 2 Les Pauls. One of them was built by Roger Geffen in 1989. It's a gold top at the custom shop in Gibson.
I was just going to tell him about your guitars.
Good.
The gold top, first of all,
Wanna
if
get
you
some
don't, no, I'm good. You can get some for
All
yourself.
right, thank you.
Roger Geffen is probably the most well-known custom shop Gibson builder of all time, I would say. Anyone who's Joe Walsh, Clapton, everyone
Andy
has had
Summers.
everyone has had Les
Everybody.
Pauls built by this guy, and they are easily the closest guitar to any late 50s PAF Les Paul you can get. And his guitar has gone through some changes. It started off as a wraparound tailpiece, 2P90, all gold, the whole guitar, neck and everything, to now it's got great throwbacks in it. It's got it's like a 57 gold top now. It's it's dark back with a beautiful gold, the top has got this beautiful carved top on it. It's gorgeous.
Well,
the carved top is amazing.
Roger went when we decided that we wanted to do a Les Paul. I was playing with Bobby Caldwell then, the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Captain Beyond, right. Roger Bell was the artist at Gibson. He was the A&R rep. He came down to see me because before that I was playing with a band, Raven Slaughter, a guy out of Cleveland. And Roger came down and we became friends. He says, I'm the A&R guy. Why don't you come to Gibson? So I went up there. At that time, they were giving Gibson deals to everybody because they were trying to get Gibsons back in the market away from the Strats with the tremolo bars and all of that.
Yeah, it was Floyd Rosemania. It was Kramer
Right.
and Ibanez back then, and
Right.
nobody. Only Tom Kiefer was playing Gibsons back
Right.
then.
And he was actually
And
playing
Satch.
59.
Yeah.
So I went up to the custom shop and I was talking to him and I ran into Roger. I didn't know who the guy was. And we started talking and he goes, well, why don't you let me build you something? I said, my favorite guitar has always been a gold top with P90s. He says to me, he goes, really? He says, I have the key to Joe Walsh's locker. He says,
What?
some guitar. Well, he took care of his guitars and built guitars for Joe. And I said, well, he says, why don't we go take some measurements? And I'm like, you kidding? He goes, no. So we met one afternoon at a storage locker somewhere in North Hollywood. And when he opened the door, one side was all tweeds, amps. One side was all brown cases. I knew what they were. And I just stood there and went, oh my God. So Roger knew where to go, because I guess after the tours, he would tune them all up and take care of them and do everything. He pulls out, he goes, play this one. And he pulls out the one with the P90s. I'm like, oh, can I have this, please? I'm like feeling it. And I says, yeah, I like the neck shape of that. I like the top of this. He went through about 3 guitars and he took measurements. About a week later, he had to go to Nashville for something. He called me up. He goes, I got a great piece of wood for you. So he found a piece of 35-year-old mahogany. I think it was Honduran mahogany. I don't know. And one piece. And he brought it back with him. And that was the basis of the body of the guitar. And then he did the neck. And that's where it started. It started with P90s. But I couldn't find a pair back then that were quiet, especially with the Marshalls. And cranking up, you get the Frankenstein movie. It's 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that was actually how we met, because I had taken the guitar to 48th Street, because when I got back to New York in the 90s, I didn't know anybody. So I started to figure out, I'll go to 48th Street. I'll find somebody. And that's when I was talking to Larry and Dave. I said, yeah, I'm going to bring my guitar in. I don't have one. And Dave said, yeah, I got one for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I switched the pickups and I put humbuckers in it and I made him put a bridge in it. But it's probably the closest to a 50s gold top that you will hear that's not a 50s gold top. And it was the first guitar he made at the Gibson Custom Shop, the very first one.
Wow, man. What a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've also got a Black Beauty. I've got a 3 pickup. It was made in 89. The serial number is 0082. So it was within the first 100 of the 35th anniversary run. I got that cool. Guitar Center.
That's another great guitar. I love that guitar too.
Larry did the fret. Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, he's also
did the fret job.
Yeah.
On that before I went to Florida, and I got 3 throwbacks in that, and that thing just, it reminds me of the one that Clapton used on Disraeli Gears. It's got that kind of tone. My favorite.
Nice.
And the Strats are a 62 reissue with Rumpelstiltskin pickups. I had Aaron make me a set of the Experience, the Hendrix set.
I've never heard of that brand. That's funny.
Oh, let me tell you something.
Rumpelstiltskin?
I'm telling you, this guy is off the charts. He's off the charts good. He used to work, I believe, for Bill Callahan.
Yeah.
You familiar with Bill?
Yeah, Callahan.
Oh,
Yeah, his parts are amazing.
Bill's a great guy.
Yeah.
I've known Bill for many, many years. Great guy. And Aaron used to work for him. So now he's making pickups. And his pickups are, this Strat set is unbelievable. This was what he called the pre-experience set. It's like the Monterey Pop set is what he called it.
Awesome.
And I'll tell you, it nails that tone. It nails it.
You also got to get it. You have to have a good set of hands too.
I'm still working on that, man. I practice every day.
I honestly don't care what anyone says. It's part of the equation. Pickups are part of the equation. The guitar is part of the equation. The strings you use, the amp, everything. But if you don't have a good set of hands, none of it means anything. And he's got a great set of hands.
People say they need more pedals. I say, I don't. I need more practice. That's all. Pedals are like anything else. They're just a tool.
Yeah. Some of us need all the tools we can get.
Do we have any
starting like my dad? Yeah. What do you need all those pedals for? Just plug in direct. Because I don't have your hands.
Do we have any final questions for Anthony before we say goodnight?
Anthony, this has been a joy. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
A memorable one.
We can go for a couple more hours, but here's the thing. I need to be a little. I want him for. We haven't seen each other in a long time.
Yeah. This is good.
I'm
going to con him out of one of these guitars one way or another.
So
he's going to take my Amex.
I'm going to be selfish.
It's going to be over.
I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to say goodnight, and we will definitely do a part 2 with Anthony.
That'd be great.
Listen, I'm humbled that you guys asked me to do this. It's you know what I mean. It's.
Well, I can tell you, Anthony, you're one hell of a guest because we had a lot of comments saying, I've never seen Ben so quiet in my life. And I'm just sitting here just listening.
Ben, I know you were just listening the whole time. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about next Thursday.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Jay,
like, literally, I'm just listening going, well, that's pretty cool.
Hey, Jay.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's literally it. And I think we took Charles Green down some memory lane himself. I saw his comment. I remember that rail. I think,
Yeah, I think he
great.
remembers Anthony as an individual too.
Yeah.
He's the guy who was talking about the Motley Show
Yeah.
in 80. Yeah,
And then he says, I remember you.
he might.
There
He
we
might
are.
remember me. I was a staple on that strip for a while.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Charles Green, I want to give a shout out to Charles Green. I want to thank you personally for everything that you do for this show, because behind the scenes you do a lot more than everyone thinks. Thank you so much, Charles Green.
Agreed, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
Oh, I'll second that. Where can we find Anthony online on YouTube? I will put in a link again to Glenn Baker's YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kurt. Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
And Facebook, Anthony Steele.
There you go.
Appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah,
very
Charles
much.
says, I remember him well. Their band was unique.
We were characters.
Guitar Man 45.
And that's
Good to
part of
see
it,
you, man.
right?
Thanks for hanging.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Tonight was very special. It was very special for me personally, because I haven't seen Anthony in 10 years. And even though I'm not emotional, it was a very emotional night for me. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Thanks for hanging. I feel one step closer to Jimi Hendrix.
There we go.
I'm serious. I really do. That was
If you haven't
that was
already,
amazing.
leave a big thumbs up on tonight's show. If you're watching on replay, leave some comments down below what you thought. If
Yeah.
you're new, please subscribe.
If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Hit that bell and hit always or all, I think it is.
All.
Isn't it? All? Hit
Set
all.
the goal.
Where are you guys located?
I'm in South Carolina.
Where?
I'm in Columbia,
Okay.
capital city, middle of the state.
Because Doreen and I go to Myrtle Beach.
I just came back from there a couple of days ago. My in-laws live there.
Okay. How about you, Ben?
I'm 100 miles east of Toronto in southern Ontario.
It's cold.
No. I was mowing the lawn in 70% humidity and 94 degrees.
Yeah, you want a humidity? Come to Florida where I live.
Yeah. I think we got some of it. I don't
What
know
was
why.
it today? How hot was it today here?
But the heat factor was 107.
107.
I'll take this team because when I go back tomorrow, as soon as you get off the plane, it's like a blanket that just hits you in the face.
Wow.
But that's what they make swimming pools for.
That's
Well,
true.
guys and girls, I gotta say good night. We'll be on here next Thursday. I'm having some surgery on Tuesday, so I don't know what
It'll
kind
be
of.
an extra good show if the meds are still kicked in.
There will be some sort of meds happening. I don't know, but and I will be part fingerless. But anyway,
Good night, Timothy.
have a good night, everybody.
Take
we
care,
will
guys.
see you
Thank you
real
again.
soon.
You bet. Thank you, Anthony.
You guys just hang on just for a minute, okay?
Of
Yep.
course.
All right,
Rock on,
guys.
folks.
Take care. Oh, I do that from time to
Yeah, Dave forgot to hit.
time. Sorry.
Bye.